Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pastor's Post. I'm Pastor Jeff, and today I want to talk to you about letting things go, when to dismiss a problem. As a pastor, especially a small church, small town pastor, a lot of times there's this temptation to please people, to make them happy. We definitely don't want to upset anybody, and they go out into the community and trash talk us or put down the church or anything like that. So a lot of times we want to make people enjoy their time at the church. And so every little problem, we feel like we have to be the firefighters, the clown firefighters who go and put out every little flame. You can't do that, and you can't be that person. It will wear you out. So today I just want to talk about when to dismiss a problem. First of all, learn what are the big problems and what are the small problems. In my church recently, somebody was complaining about something. It was really small, like the sugar packets for the coffee are too hard to open, or you're buying the wrong flavor of Pop-Tarts. It was something very small. And someone came to me and they were just, oh, Pastor, I heard so-and-so complaining and they're very upset about this. I just laughed. How good is our church doing that that's the major problem someone's upset with, right? 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago, when I became the pastor here, I sat down with everybody in the church, every person on the membership roster, and I said, what's the biggest problem in the church? And the one thing was, we need to change. We need to change now. If we don't change, we're going to die. Almost every single person said that to me. So we began to change things. 3 years ago, a year goes by, the biggest complaint in the church: we're changing too much too fast. We need to slow down. 2 years go by. What's the biggest problem in the church? Something smaller, and then now it's sugar packets. I don't even remember what the thing was 2 years ago because it's such a small deal. So the thing is, are they big problems or are they small problems? And now we're at this point where it's not about changing things big, changing things small. It's the sugar packets are hard to open, or the Pop-Tarts are the wrong flavor, eat breakfast and come here not hungry, easy solve, easy fix, right? If it's a small problem and it isn't a big deal, but it keeps coming up and it keeps seeming to be a problem, then you might want to ask, what's the bigger issue here? Maybe there's a heart issue in the person. Maybe there's something else behind this that they really are upset about and it needs to be addressed. Maybe there's something that keeps causing this smaller problem to come up. When you've put the fire out, it should stay dead. But maybe there's somebody else is feeding this issue. You need to get to the root of that repetitive small problem. And if there's one person in your church who constantly has a bunch of small problems, well, I'll get to that, okay? The first thing you have to ask is the person complaining right? Before anything else, when you hear a complaint, are they right? Is the complaint valid? Is there something to what they're saying? Because if it's really an issue, big or small, maybe it's something that needs to be fixed, something that needs to be addressed. A small problem might be a light burned out in one of the bathrooms. Well, that needs to be fixed, right? That's an actual issue. It might seem like a small problem that one of the toilets keeps running until you get that utility bill and, wow, we have spent a lot of money on water. So small problems can quickly become big problems if you're not addressing them. So you have to ask, is the complaint right? Is it valid? And second, you have to ask, especially when the problem is something about the pastor. And if you're watching this, chances are you are a pastor or you're in ministry in some form or another. If it comes against what you're doing, you have to ask the question, is this personal or is this pastoral? In other words, what I'm saying is this a problem with you because your personality doesn't mesh with their personality? Or is it a problem because of the way you are leading the church and they don't feel that's right? Another thing maybe you'd ask is this a biblical error? Am I in error here? Now, again, you're going to have to ask, why are they saying this? If you're not in biblical error and it's not a personality conflict, but they think you're pastoring the church wrong, Well, they might have an idea of how a pastor should operate correctly, and you want to know why they think that whenever that's not necessarily the right way, or it's just not your way. Maybe they've had a pastor who handled the thing a certain way, and they think you need to fall into that model. They need to understand you're not that guy, and vice versa. You need to understand they're not somebody who's possibly hurt you in the past. So don't make them pay for your baggage, right? But there are going to be times where your personality is not going to sit well with someone else's personality. You're going to do something, say something, or your sense of humor is going to rub somebody the wrong way. That does happen. That's working with people. Okay, in my life, I've worked in sales, I've worked with juvenile delinquents in probation. I've done a lot of stuff, and I can tell you that every job working with people is hard because you're working with people. And so you have to keep that in mind when you're pastoring. And if it's a personality issue, if it's something in your personality that maybe needs to change, maybe you have a crass sense of humor or inappropriate sense of humor, that is something you need to address. If it's maybe you have a behavioral way, a conduct, maybe you come across as you're a snob, those are things you need to address because you want to be approachable and you want to be likable. Who doesn't want that? Well, as a pastor, you, as someone who deals with people, you want people to want to deal with you. So if there's something personal with you that is something that needs to be addressed, or maybe it's something that you do need to look at changing, you need to be aware of that too. Third, is this something that you can change? I can't change my shape of my nose. If someone says, well, your nose is offensive to me, it's too big, or I don't like the way you dress, and I can't afford a suit and tie every day at the office. Well, those are things I can't change. Maybe at least not change right away. Maybe if I really wanted to get plastic surgery or go get a new suit, I gotta wait till I save money and I'll work on that. Not gonna do either of those things, but there are some things that we can change when it comes to our personality or maybe the way we talk to a certain person. I had a lady in my church a while back came to me and she just said, Pastor, I don't like your sense of humor. I don't get the sci-fi jokes in your sermon. I don't find it appropriate whenever you talk about Lord of the Rings or whatever. Okay, it wasn't sinful. It was just a preference thing, really. But that's something I can change, and it's not that big of a deal. I don't mind taking my Luke Skywalker reference out or quoting Yoda or Tolkien and just moving on with my life. Now, if that person consistently has issues, who's the problem really with? And that's where we have to come to this thing of that's not a me problem, that's a you problem. And we have to ask that question, is this a me problem or is this a them problem? Because sometimes people who always have problems are the problem, right? So when you deal with somebody like that, that's an entirely different video, an entirely different issue. But I do think you as the pastor need to stop trying to please that person. You're not going to make them happy. You need to pastor the sheep who are the sheep following the shepherd, not those who are there to sow dissension, cause problems, cause division. And again, that's another video for a different time. But don't let them ruin your pastorship. Don't let that last. Grab another board member and go address that as soon as you can. But when you do dismiss a problem, even if it's a small problem, don't be dismissive in how you do it. And what I mean by that is don't devalue the person. Don't make it seem like it wasn't a big issue to you, because it was a big issue to them. Even though it was a small issue to you, and it's a small issue in the gears of the machine of your church, even though it might be the smallest of things, go to them and say, hey, do you realize your biggest complaint right now is about the strawberry Pop-Tarts or the sugar packet that doesn't open? This is not that deep. Grab a pair of scissors out of your purse, clip the sugar, problem solved. Not that deep. And maybe that's whenever you'll find there's a deeper issue. Maybe it is just the sugar packets. Maybe it is just the Pop-Tarts. But don't be dismissive. Be genuine. Why is this an issue? And then if you both agree it's a small issue, small thing, let it go. And let that stuff go. Don't let it fester. Don't go back and bring it back up. Don't revisit that territory. Just, it's dealt with. Move on with life. All right. To quote Elsa, let it go, let it go. All right. If it's not that big a deal then, and it's not a big deal now, let it die. Don't dig that corpse up and try to dance with it. All right. That's disgusting. And that's disgusting whenever people do that. We only have to live through the problem areas of our life one time, and any time after that, we choose to do that. Okay, you don't have to revisit sins you've been forgiven of, and you don't have to revisit issues you've put to bed. All right? Learn and move forward. If others cannot do that, that is a them problem, not a you problem. With that all said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Praying for you. Hope that you bring the word when you preach tomorrow, if you're watching this on a Saturday. And in the meantime, God bless. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, comment below if you want. And I look forward to hearing from you.